Donatella is quite literally Alison De Laurentiis. Like, are you kidding? Hi, my name is Chloe Jane. Welcome to my channel. Today we're doing an exciting video because I read Caraval for the first time. The reason I wanted to read this series is because I've seen so much hype about the Another Broken Heart series, and I really wanted to read that one, but then I was like, ugh, I should just read the Caraval series. This is going to have spoilers, so if you want a spoiler-free review, I would go somewhere else because we're going to get down into it. We're going to talk about everything in this book. So starting off, their father, sick and twisted. Every time he would come on screen, he would get even more sick and twisted than I thought he was before. And I was taken aback. And Stephanie tricked me when their father caught Donatella and Julian together, and then Donatella said, yeah, actually it was Scarlett. I almost had a bitch fit. And then I saw, like, why she did that. She was really protecting her from getting hit by their father. And I said, oh, this man is sick and twisted, because why would you punish my sister for my doings? That's crazy. That's like, at that point, how do you have that much energy to care about punishment and hurting your children? Like, because you're not just like, you're playing games, which I also really love. I love that that was the whole thing while Scarlett was in the game. She was like, I'm prepped because of all of the sick and twisted games my father plays on me on a daily basis. So I loved that. And right off the bat, we see the difference between Donatella and Scarlett, and how Donatella is the younger, more reckless, spontaneous sister, and Scarlett is the older, rational sister. And to me, the whole time I was reading it, I was like, oh, they're giving Anna and Elsa. Like, quite literally. This is, yeah, Anna and Elsa. What I liked about the two sisters was that they were both trying to protect each other. They just had different ways of doing it. So while Scarlett was very much, I have to obey the rules, I have to stay in line so my father doesn't, punish both of us, Donatella was like, no, we gotta escape, we gotta go, we gotta find a way out of here and build a different life for ourselves so we don't have to endure this. So they were both, they both had good intentions, but they just had different ways of going about it. And like, Donatella was sneaky. She's plotting. The fact that she went behind Scarlett's back, set up this arrangement between her and Julian that was fake, and then drugged her sister and kidnapped her. I literally wrote down, I said, drugging your sister is definitely wrong, ... but I'm with Donatella on this one, because me personally, I would be like, we gotta get out of here. Like, this is our one chance, because yes, you can put your head down and play your father's games all you want, and you can marry this random man, which that sounds even worse, because not only are you being controlled by your father, but now you're being controlled by another man. That's two men that's gonna be in control of you. So yeah, I have to say I agree with Donatella. I would have been like, hey, it's worth the risk. I also wrote down while taking notes that this author had definitely seen Barbie Princess and the Pauper, because that's like one of my favorite movies. And in one sentence she said, legend wasn't wealthy then, he mostly lived on charm and stolen hearts, and Annalise claimed it was enough for her, but then her father, a wealthy merchant, would never allow her to wed a pauper. Like, she literally used pauper and Annalise in the same sentence. Like, she's seen my favorite movie. You're not slick, Stephanie. Hi, so I'm editing this video and I just realized, hello, Julian is the name of the love interest. Like, she's seen my favorite film, I know it. And you might be wondering, like, what is the relevance of this? There isn't any. But Barbie Princess and the Pauper is my favorite movie, so I had to point it out. Okay, bye! So Julian and Scarlett are on this boat now. They're on their own adventure. We don't know where Donatella is. She's somewhere already on the island. And so this is where we start to like Julian. I literally wrote down, whenever he said relax crimson for the first time, I said, okay, Julian, you have jokes, you're funny, okay. So this is where I started to get confused. I was like, wait a minute, these two, Scarlett and Julian, are getting way too friendly. He's her love interest? I was so confused because for some reason in my mind, I thought she was gonna end up with the legend, whoever the legend was. I like had it in my mind like that is her love interest. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe it was because of the letters that she wrote to him in the beginning and she kept writing to him. It seemed like she was very, I don't know, enamored with him. Or maybe I had seen something about this series somewhere else and I just I don't know, I just thought that her and the legend were gonna be together. So when we introduced Julian and they started getting close, I said, what's going on? Because we already have the Count, who she's engaged to, and then we have Legend, who I thought was gonna be her love interest, and then we introduced Julian. So I was like, okay, we can't have three. We can have two. But three wouldn't work. Three is too much. So something's up. So in my mind, this whole time I'm thinking Julian is either the legend or the Count is either the legend. The whole time I was thinking that. And oh, was I wrong? We'll get to that later, but like the whole time I was like, okay, Julian is legend, or the Count is legend. Stephanie definitely set Julian up to be the legend to mislead us, because she would always have Julian saying like, oh, I'm not a good guy, I don't think highly of me. There's one scene where like he does a cheap magic trick. Like, she was trying to trick us, she really was, and she got me, I'll say that. And then towards the end, when we start to see Julian's lies being exposed and we still haven't found out who he really is, and he says that like the whole plan was he was supposed to take both of the sisters and he didn't know which one Legend would take, but he assumed somebody would take one of them. I was like, what? Oh, so you thought he was gonna take me. You thought Legend was gonna kidnap me and that I was gonna be thrown off a balcony? Right. Thank you? Like, what? Okay. So at that point, whenever Julian's like, I am not the Legend, trust, I'm like, okay, it's gotta be the Count. So then we finally meet the Count and he wasn't Legend, and I was like, what? What's going on? What is going on? And I literally wrote down, so her fiance is not Legend and has an eye patch? Like, what is going on? And then her dad's over here being disgusting, evil, vile man trying to get rid of his daughter off to this random eye patch man saying he needs to go enjoy what he's bought. Don't. No. Like, how can you be a father and do that? How can you, like, no. No. Say when. When. No. We need to call CPS. We should have called, well, duh, like, yeah, we should have called CPS, like, chapters and chapters ago. We should have called CPS a long time ago. But, like, especially, like, he's trying to get me to this man. And then Julian says to her fiance, it's pathetic when you have to torture a man just to get a woman to be with you. Gagged him. Literally gagged him. Like, well, yes. Why do you have to beat me up just so you can get a woman to go sleep with you? Literally gagged him, read him to filth, and then they killed Julian, and I was like, what is going on? Genuinely, what is happening? Because I knew they weren't gonna kill him off for real. There was no way. So it's like, what is going on? This whole like the third act, I was losing my mind. I was like, I don't know, I don't understand. So then we get to the final scene where Scarlett finally finds her sister, and I was losing it. I was genuinely losing it, because what do you mean? I went through all this trouble. I literally sacrificed a day of my life. Oh, by the way, I forgot to talk about that. But when the shop owner was like, yeah, you're gonna have to sacrifice 2 days of your life, and then she says yes, I was like, first of all, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do that? And then she's dying and she's like, oh my gosh, I thought that it would be two days at the end of my life. Girl, dumbass. It's like, why would it be 2 days at the end of your life? Are you serious? When you're literally in a game where time is the most important thing, and you thought it was gonna be at the... No, girl, what? Dumb ass. Like, anyways, back to Donatella. She was like, no, like, I met this man, like, no, we can trust him, like, I think you're losing it, sister, like, I think the game's getting to you. I was like, oh, I would beat my sister's ass, because I literally sacrificed a day of my life for you. I've been going through all this shit just to find you and to make sure you're okay. And this is how you treat me? You don't even believe me? I was losing it. She honestly was handling it a lot better than I would have lost my shit on my sister. So then Donatella dies. I didn't think she really died because, well, there were 2 more books in the series, so I was like, okay, she's not, there's no way she's actually dead. But I was like, seriously, like, what are we doing? What, what are we doing? I was so confused. Like, what is the plan? What was the plan? And then it's revealed that her father murdered Dante. Like, okay, that's not surprising, because, well, yes. And this is where Scarlet lost it. She finally lost it on her father. She said, "You have nothing left to hold me now that Tella is gone." And I said, yes, Scarlet's villain arc, like, please, I've been waiting for you to lose your shit, because you should have from literally page 1 of this book. Like, you have been through so much with your father. I don't know how you haven't lost it. So then we finally have the reveal that Donatella was the real mastermind of this whole entire book. Since the very beginning, since Scarlet's been writing these letters, Donatella was the mastermind. She set this whole thing up. And I love that, because if we go back to the very beginning, we see that whenever her sister is like, oh, she's just being reckless with this boy and they're gonna meet up. And no, she was tricking you the whole time. She has been tricking you the whole time. So I thought that was done really well, because it was still a plot twist. It was still very surprising, but we can still look back and see, like, yes, that makes sense. She's kind of always been like this. And once this was revealed, I immediately thought of another character that reminded me of Donatella. Donatella is quite literally Alison de Laurentiis. Like, are you kidding? They're literally the same person. They quite literally are the same person. They're both seen as reckless, spontaneous troublemakers, but really they're masterminds who are plotting the entire time, and then through their schemes, they end up putting everybody around them through literal hell. Like, their loved ones even, their friends. Like, I see why she wanted to do this, to get away from her father and to help her and her sister be free. But it's also like, you put your sister through literal hell. Like, she had to watch you jump off a balcony and die. Like, was there not another way? I feel like we could have done something other than that. Tella literally said to Scarlet, "No one loves me as much as you do. You would have leapt from that balcony if Casper had convinced you it would protect me." Like, girl, that's not something to brag about. Like, okay? Like, you want me to, like, die for you? That's not something you're gonna just brag about to me in my face. What? She's playing too much with Scarlet. Like, she's playing in her face. I don't know, that's my thoughts. As soon as I read that letter from Donatella, I said, oh my gosh, she's Alison de Laurentiis. Why, yes. And speaking of Alison de Laurentiis, this whole thing with the legend just kept reminding me of A from Pretty Little Liars, because it was like, we thought it was this person, then it wasn't. Then we thought it was this person, then it wasn't. And I was like, okay, who is it? Just tell me who the real legend is, who the real A is, because I was getting over it. I really was. And so up until this point, after we revealed the thing with Donatella, I was like, okay, I really do think it's Julian. I was still so dead set on it being Julian. The other reason I thought it was him was because, in a way, we redeemed Legend's character whenever we found out about the death at Caraval and how that really upset the Legend and how he was trying to change after that and trying to be a better person. So because we kind of redeemed his character in a way, I thought, like, hey, yeah, we can't, I mean, obviously she can't be in love with the Legend if he's a terrible person, so that's why we kind of redeemed him, and we said, yeah, he's trying to change, like, that death really affected him, because I thought it was Julian. And then I also was like, okay, Julian's Legend, because we now know that Donatella was working with the Legend the whole time, and obviously Donatella and Julian were working with each other from the beginning, so it was like, yes, it's clicking. So then he says his last name is Santos, and I said, yes, I knew it, like, I knew it. And then we found out the truth, that Julian was Legend's brother. I said, when I read that, I literally said, girl, whatever. 'Cause what do you mean? Like, you really thought you tricked me. I mean, you did, but, like, for what? For what? Like, girl, whatever. My thing is like, it's giving, not to mention Pretty Little Liars again, but it's giving whenever it was revealed at the end of the series that the real A was Spencer's British twin sister. It's like, okay, so the reveal is that it's a character that you made up in the last episode? Like, you have never mentioned a British twin sister. And yes, she did mention like the Santos family in the very beginning and how they were all magicians or they were all in a carnival or something. But that was the only time. The only time she mentioned their family. There was no more speak about a brother. No. When there's a reveal that happens or some kind of plot twist, I want it to be done in a way where you tricked me and I'm surprised whenever the reveal happens. I'm surprised and shocked, but at the same time, I can also go, oh, that makes sense. And it's like the missing puzzle piece that then I can immediately go, oh, that makes sense that it was this person that was mentioned at this earlier point in the book. That was not the case whenever she revealed that it was his brother. Because I was like, okay, we've never once mentioned any brother or how he was significant at all. So I was like, okay, like, girl, whatever, like, okay. You think you got me, and you did, but, like, you didn't get me in a good way, if that makes sense. So overall, I did like this book. It was a fun read. My main issue was just the reveal at the end of Julian being the brother and not actually Legend. Another thing that I kind of didn't like was I felt like Scarlet had no agency as a character, which in some part was a part of her character arc. Like she went from following the rules and just not making any decisions for herself to then making decisions for herself. But even when she started to make decisions for herself, it didn't really feel like she was. Like it kind of just felt like something would present itself and she'd be like, okay, I'm gonna make the decision to do this thing. Like somebody in the game would offer her this thing that she should do or this clue or whatever, and she'd be like, okay, well, yes. And it's like, that's not, like, I feel like she was kind of just falling down the rabbit hole the whole game. She wasn't actually going out and setting out to do something. I've come to realize I like protagonists where they have a lot of agency. Like, they set out to do something and they do it. Like, and nothing's gonna stop them. Yeah, besides that, I love this book. I thought it was a really fun read. I'm excited to read the next two books in the series, and I'm assuming that the next book will be from Donatella's point of view, which I'm really excited about because I'm just excited to be in her mind. I'm excited to see how she plots and she schemes. And I also assume that because Julian wasn't the real Legend, that the real Legend's gonna be Donatella's love interest, right? I feel like that has to happen. Because why else would we redeem his character and make him like a good guy? Or trying to become a good guy. But the other thing is, like, is that kind of weird because didn't the Legend, like, fuck her grandma? Like, not to get vulgar, but, like, didn't the Legend have a thing with her grandma? That's kind of weird. Is it not? Like, but I'm really excited to get more into book content on this channel, so stay tuned. And yeah, bye. Thanks for hanging out with me.